From the hospital to hospitality, Jeremy Rosen went from scrubs to short-term rentals, redefining what it means to have a side hustle.
But as I decided to pick a different direction that I kind of wanted to go and what other things I could do to make money and whatever.
Now, when you've handled cardiac crises, a fussy guest isn't really high-stakes pressure, but it still takes care.
Not straight up asking, but letting them kind of know in your checkout message, or we have a message through Hospitable that goes out about 3 hours after checkout.
And if you think being a nurse and a short-term rental operator is just too much to juggle, just you wait until you hear how he uses Google reviews, AI, and his kid as an unofficial property inspector.
And, I really don't like to be away from my wife and son if I don't have to be, especially on the weekends, and when I only really have 1 or 2 days a week.
My name is Jason Muth. I'm a 33-time Airbnb superhost. After 25 years in the media business, I started building my Chapter 2 through short-term rentals. Since then, I've hosted over 6,800 guests and their furry friends at our properties, and now we're managing over $30 million worth of vacation homes, including the 5 that we own and the 22 that we manage for others. This show is all about helping you create a smart stay, profitable, personal, and built to last. It's real world hosting done smart. Let's go. So, Jeremy, you've come dressed up today. I'm used to seeing you in scrubs, and you're not in scrubs,
Yes.
and you're not in a hospital. What is going on?
Right. Yeah. So I still have my W-2, as you were alluding to. I'm still a full-time nurse. I've been doing that since about 2008. At the time of the last crash, figured out what I really wanted to do with my life. Started working as a nurse and have been in the ICU now for about 10 years. It's been great. But as I decided to pick a different direction that I kind of wanted to go and what other things I could do to make money and what other things I could do to support my family as well, multiple streams of income, I didn't want to actually leave work. I wanted to continue being a nurse even through COVID, although COVID kind of accelerated my growth and my decision to grow. But
I could imagine.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even imagine being in the hospitals during then. But
Yeah.
let's properly introduce this fine gentleman here, Rory. This is Jeremy Rosen, who you actually I don't think you've met him either. But I feel like I've known Jeremy for years at this point. Like we met in person at STR WealthCon, but that was even after lots of interacting in the STR Secrets mastermind group. Jeremy is like the leader on the board, whatever scoring they tally for messages, the school leaderboard. And I mean, he is such an asset to the community that we're both in, contributing advice for other hosts, offering things he's learned along the way. And yes, he's a nurse also. He's like always on our coaching calls wearing scrubs. So Jeremy Rosen, welcome to Smart Stay Show.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, the great thing is that Zoom exists, and with all the calls and everything, I can still learn and listen and participate as much as possible, while I'm at work, just kind of a little more discreetly with my phone tilted away.
Rory's dressed up also in his lawyer outfit today. I'm not sure why. Are you doing some lawyering?
I mean, I'm always doing some lawyering. This is lawyering, I suppose.
Yes, it is.
But
it very much so. So I'm wearing my formal sweatshirt because that's what I'm allowed to do.
There you go.
As an owner of these businesses doing short-term.
My wife picked out this shirt for me, so my wife.
Is your wife also involved in your business?
It's funny, and she likes to poke fun at me about this. So early on, you first learn, kind of about trust and who the avatar is and who's doing the booking. And a lot of times it's the wives, the females that are doing the booking. So I made the decision to name our profile Anna and Jeremy, my wife Anna, although she's not involved at all. Most of the time people assume they're talking to my wife when we're messaging, even if it was me or now it's my team. So it's just more of a trust thing because, they feel like they're talking to another woman and who understands them when they're talking about they're bringing their kids and everything like that. And so it's worked out well because then I can kind of talk in a more kind of hospitable, maybe feminine style when I was having my messages, and it was just working out. And angry husbands, if there were any, would be a little bit nicer because they think they're talking to my wife and everything too. So couple of
let
plays
me
there.
let me highlight something that you just said right there. I mean, so your company's called Your Home Away Management, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
doing short-term rental co-hosting. Do you own properties as well, or have you owned any?
Nope, just my
Okay,
own
so it's all
personal. I started with an arbitrage. I had that for
right.
3 years.
And now you have this management company that is up to how many units in Texas?
About 20 properties. We just had one that got sold, unfortunately, but we're working with the new owner to retain management, and that's looking like it's going to happen. But yeah, about
Right.
20 and looking to grow.
So 20 properties, and your Airbnb profile, do you manage them all under the same profile?
Yes. Yeah.
And that
I
is,
think I maybe would have done it differently if I could do it again, but right now everything's under my same profile.
and that's under the Anna and Jeremy profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Actually, no, sorry.
so
I do have a separate business one that everything's under, and then my own personal one for travel.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. I was going to say because I manage everything under my own profile, literally Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think Rory's in it a co-host for a couple of our properties because Rory always comments about, he'll see some of the comments that go back and forth, but only for the ones we own. Right.
Right. So I'm set up to as a co-host for just on Airbnb for the properties that we own. For the ones that you manage, I don't see those messages at all.
So he's like upstairs giving Cecily, our daughter, a bath yesterday, and like I'm responding to reviews that have been given to us, using Hospitable's tools to do it, tweaking it
Mm-hmm.
along the way to see if I don't just hit the respond with AI button. I actually do massage it a little bit. But like there was this bizarre review that came in yesterday for like Camelot Chalet, the property we built, which has had 83 5-star reviews in a row up until yesterday's 4-star review, which was weird. It was a weirdie though. Like Rory, I even read everything to you. Like every one of the subcategories was 5 stars. All the public feedback was amazing. All the private feedback
Yep.
was amazing. And then the overall was 4. And I'm like, was this a mistake?
Yeah.
Those
There's
get you.
Yeah.
basically
What did you think, Rory?
a full paragraph saying, we had the best time ever. Everything was perfect. Everything was clean. Jason was great. We're looking forward to coming back here again. 4 stars. And I texted you immediately because I guess some of these guests don't understand the rating scheme and how important it is to get 5 stars and kind of that's the expectation. But that definitely threw me for a loop. I mean, I read the banner of the message saying 4 stars. So I was waiting to try to find the problem in the description, but there was none. Quite the opposite. It was a glowing review.
Right. And I
Over the
think
top
that's one
glowing.
of the great things about, I know that you guys mention this, but obviously sprinkling in 5-star review in your
Oh
messaging,
yeah.
sprinkling in, and even just straight up, not straight up asking, but letting them kind of know in your checkout message, or we have a message through Hospitable that goes out about 3 hours after checkout, just reminding them we'd love a review. We hope you had a 5-star stay. We usually will tell them that we're going to be giving them a 5-star review as well. So there's some reciprocity psychology going on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I looked just the other day just to see, we have 95, almost 96% over the last year are 5-star reviews.
Yeah. I think it does help to ask for it. And that's some things that
Mm-hmm.
like, you and I have kind of learned along the way from all these
Yep.
amazing people that are in STR secrets. And it elevates everybody to understand what what each of us is doing. I never used to pepper in those 5-star comments along the way. And now it's just in there as automated messages that, we will remove if we know the guest is not having a great experience. I don't know if you're going there and manually
Mm-hmm.
tweak them, but like we have our team is trained if the sentiment gets negative to remove the review request, remove some of the messaging. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
the platforms still send out their own messaging, right? Airbnb will still send messages outside
Yes.
of ours asking them to review. But yeah, yesterday was I'm curious to see if the guest writes back to me because every so often we've asked if a review was not 5 stars that we thought should have been, if that was really what they meant to say.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they say. I mean, like they said they really, really want to come back to the property. Like, why would you come back to a 4-star property?
Right. Nobody wants to rent a 4-star property, but they left you a
Right.
4-star. Yeah. And as long as Airbnb is still giving us phone numbers and we're getting access to phone numbers, Hospitable obviously holds on to those phone numbers for us. I use them for, in that case, especially if it's obvious they had a great time, there was nothing wrong with the review, then there you go. And obviously sometimes before the review, one of the great things that I've really done is reaching out and calling guests. I don't do it often, but if a guest is really not having a great time, or there's clearly something that would be better done over a phone call, I reach out to them. Case in point, we had a guest recently who stayed, and after checkout, his messages were just clearly like he needed something, something wasn't right. I could tell the sentiment had gone a little negative, or neutral, even neutral negative. So I called him, and he just like laid into me about only the fact that here in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, it's 100 degrees, that our grass wasn't green like the photos showed. Everything else in the review was glowing, fantastic, had a wonderful time. He gave us a 3 stars because he felt like the photos were deceptive just because of the grass. So I called him and let him know, everything that we are going to be doing to remedy the situation, all those different things. Here we go. 2 weeks later, after I'd called him and had all this stuff in motion, he still gave us a 3-star review. So, you win some, you lose some, but, as a host, if we want that 5-star review, we kind of need to do what we can do to get that, beyond just asking. Sometimes just guests want to be heard and vent. And I was hoping that he would have been the one that vented and then just felt heard and didn't do anything, but he had a little bit of a vendetta, it seemed.
Yeah.
Yeah. For us, that would be like somebody coming in the wintertime and then complaining that the beach wasn't open like it was in the pictures. In fact, it was all frozen and icy. But we take these criticisms, and I know Jason kind of divides up advice to things that are, completely legitimate, things that we really should hop on and do. Things that would be a nice to have, but really we never represented we had it in the first place. But we'll put that in a note and get around to it one of these days. And then things that we just kind of dismiss that are so peculiar to that one person, or just kind of patently unreasonable. And I mean, this definitely would fall into that third bucket. But what can we do about those kinds of criticisms that are in that third bucket, that are just kind of off the wall, where we have no interest in fixing anyway? How can we manage guest frustration for those kinds of complaints?
Right. Yeah. I mean, in this particular case, it was, we're not putting in an irrigation system because one guest complained about there not being grass. We're not going to do that. But, to your point, Rory, we can learn from bad reviews. We can absolutely do that. So we did go in and put some captions on some pictures, because obviously our pool photos, because we have a beautiful newish pool that shows grass around it, but there's no grass around it anymore. We're clearly putting that we've had a drought, the grass is not alive, but we're not taking the photos down of the pool because they're the only photos we have of the pool. So, we took down some other photos, but yeah, we learn from those reviews, and it only helps us, set expectations for those guests so that it never happens again. Case in point, if a guest ever mentions anything like there wasn't enough toilet paper or there wasn't enough paper towels, even though we leave out extras, I tell my team, I never want to hear about toilet paper and paper towels ever again. So just leave a whole roll of trash bags, 3, 4, everything. So there's always something we can learn from the negatives, and us as hosts, if we want to be, great providers of fantastic stays, there's always, it's to our benefit to continue to learn from those and take action.
We're in the mindset too of leaving out extra, like we don't do what Vacasa does, which is you get 1 dishwasher pellet and 2 little jars of shampoo and conditioner and 1 trash bag for your stay. It's like, wow, okay, no wonder why the reviews are really bad. I mean, like, we appoint the houses as though there's stuff in the cabinets, like you're walking into a house that, just like your house at home, like there's cleaning supplies under the kitchen sink, right? And there's plenty of paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls. And if we ever run out, we try to get stuff there as soon as possible. Well, sometimes we'll even say to the guests, like, hey, if you want to pick some up, like, we'll just pay you back for it, or I can get my team to bring some stuff over there that day. I'm going through a situation right now, one of our markets in Provincetown, where same day delivery stuff is just tough there. It's different from San Antonio. Like I love my Walmart Plus. I don't know if you do that, but oh man,
Instacart, Walmart Plus. Yep.
Yeah, so we don't have Instacart in Provincetown because it's so remote, and we do have DoorDash. But like for some reason, I got two things DoorDashed recently, but now DoorDash for some reason thinks that like I had a fraudulent account. So I've tried speaking with them, and they said that my device has been blocked in their system, and I'm like, all right, well this is not super convenient. So just when I thought I had the solution for like same day things, which my solution right now is getting my team on the ground to do it, which just cost us extra money versus DoorDash. So we're
Right.
working through that. But like, just like, like we're all working through operational efficiencies with what we're running, whether it's properties that we own or properties that we're co-hosting. I bet you that your systems today are a lot different from when you even first started this business, a couple of years ago?
Yeah. Well, I started about 4 years ago now at this point. Um, if you want me to talk a little bit about how my growth has
Please.
gone, I can. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like I mentioned, I started off with an arbitrage just to kind of show that I could do it. I actually met my very first mentor through another mastermind that I was a part of, who's in Austin, Texas, just up the road, had a property in San Antonio, helped me learn everything about management. And then I went and got my own. He's still a great friend of mine to this day. He was actually Mike Sjogren's very first student way back in the day, on the M1 days, he says. But so got my arbitrage, just finished managing that in March for 3 years, got to about 4 units and was stuck there for a while. Was really focused on doing it myself, taking all the free stuff, not going under the expensive mastermind, and I can do it. You just get to a point, maybe after I think that the wealth con that we met at, that I just realized that I need more support and I need more of a community in it. So I joined STR Secrets Mastermind, and really from there went from 4 to 8 to 12, relatively quickly. And it was incredible, but, quickly learned that Jeremy at the hospital couldn't be the kind of hospitality provider that he wanted to be from a hospital. So I needed a team. So that's when I started building out my team. I now have 2 local people, a mom and daughter group, and then I have 2 Filipino virtual assistants as well, that are really doing 95% of the day to day, which is fantastic for me now because I can focus on the sales side, the outreach side, going and getting more clients, more homeowners, versus managing a leaky hose or a guest issue and whatnot.
Now your properties are where you live, right? You live in San
Right.
Antonio too? Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm trying to
theoretically
go deep.
yeah, you right, good. And you could be the one that goes and fixes that leaky hose. And are you still ever that person?
Ever? Yeah, not never ever, but there are some properties that are closer to me. We're both family men. I really don't like to be away from my wife and son if I don't have to be, especially on the weekends. And when I only really have 1 or 2 days a week, other than the weekend, to be with them, because otherwise I'm at the hospital for 12 hours. So I really try to be home. But if there's an issue with the pool heater at one that's like 3 miles away, I'll pop over there. My son will usually come. He enjoys going to the nicer properties and being my inspector and everything
Assistant,
too.
yes.
My assistant, unpaid assistant. So yeah, I do jump every now and then. And of course, if my team needs some time off, a day or whatever, I don't like them to feel like they have to work 7 days a week. But, they tend to love jumping into helping the guest issues too.
Rory, Jeremy's got to get his son on the payroll, get a Roth IRA going, get some
Yep.
of that
Yeah, I
financial
will.
freedom for him. Yeah.
Right.
Um, I was going to ask, like, how do your owners know you're local? They might be local, might not be local. I'd love to hear your answer to this question because I do get it sometimes, because where we're co-hosting is, 2 hours and 40 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now with no traffic. When you tell them that you're not the one going over there fixing that hose, like what is their reaction and how do you overcome that objection?
Incredibly, I have some reviews. If they really want to know what my team is capable of doing, I have some actual Airbnb reviews that mention how incredible my team is. because the guests are meeting them sometimes if something goes wrong, and they're naming them. We just had an incredible review about one of my assistants, and I would say more than 50% of the review was about her. The other 50% was about how great the property was and how wonderful of a time they had. But, that's a win for me when my team is getting such accolades, because they're actually, they're the face then at that point of the group, of your home away management. But owners, I try to tell them initially how I set up their listings and how my team works. And being a nurse and working in a surgical ICU with people that have had incredibly invasive surgeries, heart surgeries, brain surgeries, in my line of work, if I'm not prepared for something that could go wrong, it's a life or death situation. And I tell them, I take that same mindset into setting up my properties. Thankfully, there's very little that's life or death in short-term rentals and hospitalities, knock on wood, but toilet paper, lock issues, parking, access, anything that a guest could ask a question about, we try to anticipate and have an answer figured out somewhere. We have one property that's right in Southtown, beautiful, walkable neighborhood downtown, that has some really intricate things. Like even the door lock, it's a 3-step door. You have to lift the handle and then push this and then turn the key. It's really intricate, and guests regularly were having trouble with it. So we created a YouTube video that we put into our Happy Guest, portal, that guests can now actually see how to lock this lock. And our team's aware, like, how do you lock this lock? Where every other lock in the portfolio is a standard, Schlage deadbolt, This one is not intuitive. So we think of those things and make it as easy as possible for guests to answer their own question before they come to us. And so owners really just, they like me, and then I tell them how much I like my team, and then it just kind of works well, and they have no issues.
I think what's great with what we do as co-host of properties is that we're solving problems and then scaling them up. And I always kind of explain, what is our role? Our role is to solve problems and to market properties well, and to learn from the systems that we all put together, that we stare at every single day, and that we build, and bring that expertise to another property that doesn't know how to do all that stuff. Because I don't know about you, but most of the people we work with, there's a combination of some people that just don't have the time to do it, or some people that don't want to learn how to figure all this stuff out. And they come to us, and we already have these systems built, and that's the expertise that we supply. I'm curious though, when you joined the Short-Term Rental Secrets Mastermind, you said you had a couple properties and you've really scaled up since then. Like, what do you think changed in you or your systems or your mindset that brought you to the level that you're at right now versus when you were kind of at that lower plateau?
Yeah, I think prior to joining the mastermind, I'd kind of amassed the tools. I had a website. I used Boostly. I had a Boostly website. I had, a bunch of different things, but I didn't have them all talking together. And so one of the first things I learned and did was implementing a Google My Business page. I got a CRM, a Go High Level CRM that could then integrate everything. So my biggest issue is what? Time. It's not having time to prospect, not having time to, have all these meetings all the time. So I needed to make sure that I was being found where my potential clients are, which is Google. In this case, I focused on Google. And that I could make it easy for them to get on my calendar. So really joining the mastermind made me think about integrating systems and building out systems so that I could solve my own problem. My own problem was just, all that. So, what I did is I created my Google My Business page, really optimized it, learned a lot about how to make sure it was optimized, so that I was getting clicks, getting views when people are searching on Google for a short-term rental manager, Airbnb manager, whatever the terms are in San Antonio, and that it would link them to a specific page on my website that's for property managers that has a form that's linked to my CRM. They fill out my form. I get a text with the lead information, with the address. I can start qualifying them. But once they submit that lead, it takes them to my calendar. My calendar is linked up to my personal and my business calendar, so they can just get on my calendar. Today, I have 5 calls set up that I didn't have to raise a finger for. I didn't have to do anything. They found me, they got on my calendar. All I have to do is just look their Zillow up, talk to them a little bit ahead of time if it's a property that might be interesting. If it's a 1-bedroom property and it's obvious I don't want it part of town or whatever, I'll politely decline before the meeting. But I have 5 people that I'm interested in talking to today. And that's really all because of integrating those systems together and learning that initially, from joining the mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask a little bit about that process when they had that first conversation with you. You've qualified them a little bit beforehand, but what information are you looking to get from them? And then how do you structure your pitch to them in that first conversation?
Yeah, I mean, initially, I wanted to learn about the property, learn about whether it's listed already, whether it's furnished already, because I'm at the stage where, I know the type of property I want. It's not just going to be a comfortable property that, is a 3-to-1, that's competing with hotels. High end, experiential amenities, excellent design, something that's going to pop off the page when people are spending, 1.2 seconds looking at each picture, scrolling through Airbnb. So I initially want to get in my mind whether this is going to be a short call or a long call. And if it's pretty quick off the top that they don't have it furnished, are interested in my expertise in using an interior designer, have the capital to invest in it, and have that mindset that it is an investment, and it's a long-term investment versus a short-term, just fill it with IKEA, then those are the people I want to have a longer conversation with. So, beyond that, once I've kind of qualified them again, then we'll just kind of talk about, what their goals are, what, the reason that they purchased this house, all those types of things. And then inevitably I'll tell them, about, my process, what we do, how we do it, our commission structure. Depending on, I have a few different ways I can pitch the offer to them. Alex Hormozy, lives in my brain rent free all the time. So I'm constantly thinking about how I can pitch different things to people depending on what information they've given me. So sometimes I'll throw in a 5-star guarantee. Sometimes I'll pitch a longer commitment with a smaller or no sign-on fee, or, things like that. But, if it's a property I want, I'm going to find a way to get that property, in my portfolio.
Mm-hmm. A lot of pools I'm seeing on your
Yeah.
properties. Are these
Yeah.
all investment properties, or do people use these as well as owners?
I have quite a few. I have a mixed bag of my owners. Some live in Europe and I don't ever hear from them. I have to remind myself what their name is when I'm trying to find their email to send them their owner statement, because I never hear from them.
Wow.
Never hear from them. I have to ask for feedback, or I have to ask, like, tell me. But some are in Europe, some are in San Antonio, but fewer are. Most are in like Austin, California, surrounding states. One guy's been deployed with the military for a couple, for like 6-9 months. So, it's a mixed bag, but rarely do they use them themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Some that are local will have family come in and block them. One of my top performers actually is a casita, that it's only a 2-bedroom property, but it crushes. I mean, we're constantly raising prices, but since it's right in their backyard, grandma comes over and they use it, but they know it's an investment. And so they're not trying to block too many days.
Mm-hmm. Did you have like a customer in terms of a guest, an avatar for these properties in your mind when you built this business? Like why are people visiting these properties?
Yeah. I mean, initially, when you first start out, you're just like, anything, give me anything, whatever it might be, 1 property, 2 bedrooms, whatever. So the avatar kind of changes depending on the property. But, now my focus is, larger groups, 10 to 16 plus people, multi-generational families. We always want to make sure we have, kid-friendly items, reasons that families would come versus groups of, young adults. We want to make sure that our listings read that we're safe for families, especially if we've got these great, outdoor experiential items, putt, outdoor bowling alley, all those types of things. It's going to attract a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the there's one property that has a slide in it. So it's definitely a bunk room with a slide that caters to kids. So we get a lot of family groups that come.
Are these properties coming to you with these amenities there, or is that part of your recommendation process?
A little bit of a mixed bag as well. The one with a slide, they came to me after choosing their designer. So they purchased the property, decided to work with STR Cribs to do the design, the build out, renovation, all of that. And they just found me, and I sold them like any other prospect. And we've been having a great run. It's been fantastic this past summer. But most of the time, the harder part is when you talk to a client and they don't know what they don't know. And they don't know that they need excellent design. And they don't know that colorful wallpaper is going to work better than white walls. And trying to manage that mindset and expectation to let them know that there will be some investment up front to perform well. But I show them in the revenue projection just what that will equate to. This is what this will look like, middle of the road. And if you do it the way that we should do it, this is what your potential is.
We've had Mark on from STR Cribs on the show, and I love their designs. Like, it's very tempting to do this with all of our properties that we own.
Right.
Interestingly, in Provincetown, like, that's not exactly who we serve, which is just so interesting to hear how different it is in your market. We have a lot of owner occupants. I mean, the vast majority of our places are used by the owners as well, which comes with its own long list of challenges. But we knew that going in. Like, our philosophy was that to buy a property in this market, it's usually a lifelong dream for people, but it's also very expensive. So they often need the rental revenue to offset all of their mortgage payments and taxes and everything. And at some point, these people might want to retire to this property, at least for part of the year. Like, that's probably the 5, 10, 15-year life plan for the owners that we work with. But most of them aren't looking to deck it out in STR Cribs way. There's this is a style, right? An STR Cribs style. Oh yeah. And it's great. And I think it works really well for properties that you have the backyard with the fence, that you could paint the awesome mural and have the string lights and have the pickleball court and, have the props to take pictures for Instagram. Like, it's just, our market's a little bit different. So, like, I look at these things, I'm like, I'd love to do this, but I can't work it in to what we're working on just yet.
Well, San Antonio's the 7th largest city in the country. People come for so many different reasons. So, we don't want to be everything to everybody, because then you don't succeed. So we really are still trying to welcome those people that are coming for any of those items, sightseeing, conventions, whatever it might be, Air Force graduation. But we want the families that are coming for those groups to know that they can stay at our properties. So we'd love to help any of your listeners come stay with us in San Antonio.
As I start to wrap up, I do have a couple final questions. You mentioned when we were chit-chatting beforehand, well, you didn't mention this, but you wrote this down when you said, here's what we're going to talk about. Host Buddy is something you're onboarding, right? We've also spoken with Jay, the CEO of Host Buddy, on this. We also use Host Buddy. We do love Host Buddy. What are your thoughts on why you wanted to implement that as part of what you're doing for your operations? And have you seen any results from it yet?
So initially, it was slow, but now I've gotten the hang of onboarding my properties. It's one of those things you wish you could just do as you grew. So all of you out there, if you have a smaller portfolio, just start now. So it's been working great so far. I'm pretty specific about which ones I'm starting with, just to make sure we work out all the bugs. We don't want to go right to our top performer with the most expectations of the guests and whatnot. But it's been working out really well so far. The reason that I wanted to move away from the human side and more to an AI side for this really was that, every now and then there are still some mistakes that are made by humans. When you're managing 20 some properties, they forget that one particular property has that weird lock sometimes, and they're trying to answer a question. It's like, that is not the answer at all for this property. The AI would just know. But it's also, I think it's been interesting because, both of my virtual assistants that are involved with the messaging, they're relatively young. And so AI is exciting for them. So getting their interest in this and having them monitor the inbox and and tweaking, thumbs up or thumbs down the responses to make sure that the responses are better, continuously is something that kind of they're excited about. So they don't feel like I've snatched something away from them. And they're not scared for their jobs. Like, this is purely to help them. And then now I can focus on giving them other special tasks that have been on my radar for a while as well. So it really frees up a lot of things.
Have you found the action item list yet on HostBuddy?
I saw an email about that the other day. I'm excited about that, and even integrating some of our scheduled messages from Hospitable, integrating those, because then it just makes them more personable. So working on that.
The action item list, I have it up on my screen right now. It's my favorite thing on there because it basically recaps stuff that happened that the guests report, and it's a great way of us putting things onto our maintenance list that maybe we'd forgotten about. So I actually have my team looking at the action item list as a great way to remember what we might have missed with one of our many, many, many conversations during the super busy months. I also have used HostBuddy for upsells for a handful of early check-ins, or if there's an orphan day, offering it up at 40% off. And I actually probably should have assigned this to one of our VAs to see how much of that we sold, but a surprising amount of people, that are paying extra for check-ins early and that kind of thing. So, if you haven't taken advantage of those just yet, I think that those are great additions.
We're still using Happy Guest, and really having a great experience with Happy Guest for those types of upsells, but being able to make it more personal in how we present it to the guest, we could definitely use HostBuddy for that as well.
I have not had the Happy Guest people on the show yet. We're gonna have to reach out to those folks.
They're a great crew. Yeah, tell them I sent you. They're a fun group. I met them in person at WealthCon, and we've had it's been wonderful onboarding with them.
Rory, any final thoughts for Jeremy with everything we've talked about?
Just what's up next when we talk to you a year from now? How are things going to be different with you?
Yeah, bigger, better portfolio. That's really what I'm going for, is just more experiential, higher quality properties, the ones that could get on lists, the best ofs and everything. So we're going in that direction. People are hearing about us. We're really diving into social media, Google ads, Meta ads now with a team. So, the goal now is in the next 6 to 8 months, have a much stronger and faster trajectory towards where we want to be through utilizing those tools and teams.
Well, keep it up. Super smart guy, doing all the right things, learning along the way, and also somehow saving lives, which is something that we can't even claim to be doing.
Doing my best.
Well, Jeremy,
doing my best.
Dude, hey, well, you have a pretty good success rate there, so I presume. Thank you so much for all the great insight here at Smart Stay Show. We look forward to continuing to learn about all of your progress and all the systems that you're building. And wishing you all the best, and thank you for listening. Thank you, Rory, also for being part of this. We'll link up both your websites in the show notes.
Great.
STR Legal.
yham.host.
Yeah, yham.host. Nice and easy. You don't get many. Oh, it's .host. I was going to say you can't find many 4-letter.coms anymore, but
right.
You got a .host there. All right.
Yep.
And thank you for listening to the show or watching it. If you've enjoyed this, we love your feedback. We love 5-star reviews, and we love all your comments. You can go to smartstayshow.com and see all past episodes. And if you want to be a guest on the show, there's a form there that you can fill out. It comes right to us. We'll have a look and see if they can be a good fit for a great guest just like Jeremy. And on behalf of the two of you, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.